Hello all. Welcome to the session on Postdated Checks, referred to as PDCs in TALLY.ERP9 5.0. Let us see the agenda: Introduction, Business Requirement, Product Walkthrough, Summary, and FAQs. Before we begin our session, let us first understand what we mean by postdated checks. Postdated checks are checks issued to suppliers or received from customers where the date that is not current, meaning not ready to be deposited today. The date on postdated check is typically a future date. Issue and receipt of postdated checks is a very common business practice these days, and as a result, every businessman would want to ensure the following: complete control over postdated checks. With a complete track and control over the PDCs, one can look at upcoming PDCs received and remind people that there's checks which need to be deposited or seek an attention well in time. Or in case a PDC has been issued, one can seek an extension well in advance if needed. Outstanding receivable payables is effectively managed. Considering the impact of posted checks issued or received gives better comfort for a businessman to take his decisions. Also, it ensures happy customers and stress-free suppliers. Protection of bank balance with PDC. The option to view bank balance, that is, the actual balance, along with post-dated transactions, would certainly be of great help in taking the necessary business decisions. So let us see how Release 5.0 addresses all those requirements and makes PDC management simple. So let us see the business scenario. Imagine a scenario: ERP9 Traders maintains its books of accounts in Tally.ERP9. The company receives a post-dated check of ₹50,000 dated Jan 1st, 2015 from one of its customers called ABC Electronics. The PDC received is against an old bill 50 number dated 10th November, and it is known that it will be deposited in Citibank. Now let us see how simple can this be handled in Release 5.0. So we have a demo company called ERP9 Traders. The last date of entry in this company is 18th December. So let us pass some post-dated transaction. So we'll pass a receipt note on 1st of January. We'll take the Citibank. As this is a post-dated transaction, we will mark this entry as post-dated by pressing Ctrl T or the toggle button. So we get the tag over here as post-dated transaction. So after selecting the Citibank, we are selecting the party who has given us 50,000 rupees check. Now this is against the bill number 50. Now we see two columns over here, that is balance and final balance. Now we'll understand this in detail after passing this entry. So as we have received this 50,000, we'll write the other details of the transaction, that is the instrument number, the instrument date, the bank on which the check has been drawn, this is a PDC receipt date. Now this actually picks up the system date, and this is the date when the PDC is received by the company. So, and even we can leave this as blank, as this has no much impact on any accounts. This is just for reference. We can write a note over here for PDC like Please contact the customer before depositing the check. So we save the transaction here. Now here we are able to see on the gateway of Tally, the date has not changed. It is still 18th of December and not 1st of January. Why? Because the post-dated transactions have not yet become part of our accounts. So that's it. We are done with recording the PDC. No setup or configuration needed for it. It is absolutely simple and can be done in seconds. Let us pass one more transaction, one more PDC check for the same customer, say on 31st of December. We select the same bank, Citibank, ABC, let's say 10,000 against bill number 50. Now see the difference here. The clear balance shows 1 lakh rupee. The bill amounted 1 lakh rupee, and this it is showing that it is not yet cleared. But if we consider the final balance, it has considered the 50,000 rupees post-dated transaction, and that's why it is showing the final balance as 50,000. So the final balance is the outcome of the balance of the bill considering the post-dated transactions also. This is an important feature, and this behavior will also be seen later when we look at bill-wise outstanding. So let us not complete this entry, but I would like to bring to your notice about one area, that is when we were passing the bill entry, we were seeing a balance of 3,34,151. Now, this balance is the clear balance of ABC Electronics as on date. Now, if we want to see the actual balance or the final balance of this client ABC Electronics, then press F12 and we see the option here, show ledger final balance. So when we make this option as yes, then it considers the post-dated transactions and gives us the final balance of the customer. This feature would be liked by many users. Now we will see the process by which these transactions get regularized. Means the transactions which we have passed as post-dated, they automatically get regularized. Let us see the process. So let us see the daybook on 18th of December from the gateway of Tally display, daybook, and here we see the regularized transactions on 18th of December. But out of these, there were some transactions which were post-dated. So how we see that? We see this by pressing Alt-T. So when we press Alt-T, we see that these transactions were marked as post-dated. And when we come to 18th of December, these transactions have automatically come in the daybook, and these transactions have impacted the books of accounts. Now looking at this, the businessman clearly understands that these two checks needs to be deposited, okay, and there requires some intimation from this businessman side that the two transactions which are marked as unlinked, he passes a comment for this by selecting the two transactions, and he can click over here by enter notes and pass on the message to the accountants. Okay, so what then? We expect that he would look at all the PDC register for the next day or week and ensure that the funds are available for the checks he has issued, and if necessary call the parties whose checks he is going to deposit. Now, if a party requests the businessman to postpone the deposit date, then all he need to do is to simply select the records and press Alt A and click on Alter Date to change the date of the deposit. No need to go into the voucher and change the date. So for example, the last transaction here it says that it kindly deposits this check on 20th. So the businessman can just select this transaction, enter notes and add comments over here. Deposit on 20th December, and he also changes the date for the same by pressing alter date. So this gets removed from the list here and it would be seen to us in the future date. We can see this on 20th of December here. So this gives great ease to all the users who have massive use of post-check transactions. So you have seen how easy and simple it is to record a PDC in Tally. All you need to do is mark the voucher as post-dated, enter the relevant details, and Tally does the rest. No setups required or configurations needed for the same. We have also seen that last transaction date of the company will not get affected by PDC checks. We have also seen how easy you can configure Tally to display the final ledger balances after considering all the post-dated transactions. Moreover, with PDCs, there's absolutely no need for a businessman to record checks, issues, and receipt transactions again once the checks are affected. It would automatically get regularized based on the last voucher date. Also, setting remarks against PDCs and altering the check deposit date can now be done with just toggle of a key. While seeing the report on 18th of December, we saw some more transactions like unlinked. Now what exactly this unlinked are meant for? They are meant for notional bank ledger. So what exactly this new notional bank ledger comes into the picture? Tally 5.0 supports a new concept called as notional bank, which is used when you receive checks and do not know at the time of receipt the bank wherein these should be deposited. If a bank account is marked as notional in F11, then the PDC report will show them as unlinked, thus alerting you that you need to set the right bank account in the voucher. There is no other impact of setting a bank as notional. The voucher gets actually regularized and the balances of notional bank also appears in the balance sheet. So let us see how to set the right bank for PDCs recorded against notional banks and what impact they have on the PDC status in the report. Now let us see how we regularize the notional bank transactions. Now from the gateway of Tally we go to display, table, Alt T, and here we are able to see these two transactions are marked in notional bank ledger and they are seen as unlinked. Now here we select these two transactions, click on alter bank and change it to Citibank. So once we have done that, we see that these two transactions are also regularized. So we see here that to alter the PDC bank is available in daybook or PDC summary report. You don't have to go into each of the accounting vouchers to change your bank details. how do we set an account as a notional bank account? So let us see. We just need to go from Gateway of Tally by pressing F11, Accounting Features, and here on the right hand side we get one option, Set Alter Post-Dated Transaction Features as yes, and here we type a ledger account, notional bank ledger, as the notional bank for the company. Let us pause for a short recap. So we have seen how simple it is to configure and use notional bank in TALLY.ERP9 Release 5.0. The best part is there's absolutely no dependency on setting the right bank details for recording a PDC. Simple, create a bank ledger, specify it as a notional bank, and start recording your PDC against the same. The PDC report will show them as unlinked, thus alerting you that you need to set the right bank account in the voucher. Setting the bank account as notional does not have any impact on checks getting automatically regularized or reflection of the balances in the balance sheet. Tally takes care of this automatically. If a bank account is marked as notional, then the PDC report will show them as unlinked. That's it. So now let us move to some other uses of PDC in 5.0 for a complete experience. PDC and reminder letters. With TALLY.ERP9 Release 5.0, you can now opt to include or exclude the post-dated transactions when issuing a reminder letter to the customer. Let us see how this can be done. From the gateway of Tally, you go to Display, Statement of Accounts, Outstanding, Ledger, PDC Electronics, and here we click Alt P for Printing, Include Post-Dated Transactions, Print Reminder Letter as yes, Bank Detail as yes, and we see this preview. Now here we are able to see the post-dated transaction clearly with the bill details. The PDC amounts are clearly reflected in the reminder letter and the summary at the end. So we see both bill-wise PDC and also on account PDC. So now the user has the option to include or exclude PDC transaction in the reminder letter. Blank PDCs. A common business practice, especially in FMCG business, is the receipt and payment of post-dated checks with no amount. Release 5.0 allows recording of blank checks as well. Let's see this in action. Let us pass blank check transaction in Tally. From Gateway of Tally, I go to Accounting Vouchers. Type this transaction as post-dated. Select the bank. Select the party. And leave the amount column as blank. And save the transaction. So once I save the transaction, from the gateway of Tally, I go to Banking. I go to Post-Dated Summary, Citibank, and I go to the month of December. Now here I am able to see this check is blank. I get inside this transaction. I provide the transaction, the amount, select appropriate bill to knock off, and save the transaction. Now this gets removed from the post-dated transaction summary because it has got regularized. It was passed on 18th of December and it was shown earlier as blank check, but now it has been regularized. As you saw in the demo, with Release 5.0, you can record the issue receipt of even blank post-dated checks. No separate setup or configuration is required for that. You record a PDC and just leave the amount field blank, and that's all. You don't even need to remember that you have issued a blank check to a supplier or have received the same from a party. Once the same is recorded in Tally, you can easily track it down from the post-dated reports. And once you enter the amount, checks will automatically get regularized based on the voucher date. Another important aspect in credit limit. Some businesses consider credit limit on the ledger balance, while some consider this on final balance, as they assume that all the post-dated checks will be honored. Imagine a scenario where the credit limit for a party is set to Rs 50,000. Now the party has issued a post-dated check amounting to Rs 1 lakh, against which you need to record a sales invoice. But since the party credit limit is set to Rs 50,000, Tally is not allowing you to enter the sale transaction. What do we do in this scenario? Just enable the option override credit limit using post-dated transactions in the party ledger master and then record the sales invoice. That's it. No other setting or configurations required. So come, let us see this scenario in action. Let us create a party ledger with credit limit set to 50,000. From the gateway of Tally, I go into the accounts, ledger, create, country data, and set the credit limit as 50,000. Now, I try to pass a sale transaction for the party for above 50,000. So let us say I'm making a transaction on 19th of December. Say 1 lakh rupees. It does not allow me and gives me a message, credit limit of the PQR industry is 50,000, exceeded. The current bill balance is 1 lakh. So this clearly indicates the credit limit is set beyond which the sale invoice cannot be passed for the party. So now what if the party has given an advance of 1 lakh rupee? So we have one option in the master where we say override credit limit using post-dated transactions. If I set this option as yes, and also we see that the party has given us a check, an advance check, a post-dated check as on 30th December of rupee 1 lakh. Now a post-dated transaction has been passed for 30th of December. Whereas let us see if we pass a sales transaction on 19th. Now does it allow? So we say yes, it does allow. It has considered the post-dated transaction and based upon that it has given the clearance. So it has calculated the credit limit as 1 lakh means the current balance plus the credit limit, and the current balance here is taken based upon the post-dated transaction. So here we clearly see it is a very useful feature for those who set credit limits for their parties. As we move to reports, let us first consider how does a post-dated check impact the outstanding reports. From the gateway of Tally, we go to Display, Statement of Accounts, Outstanding, Receivables, and here we see the outstanding report of all the parties with their pending balances. This is the default outstanding report. However, it would not be appropriate to consider bills for which there is already a PDC issued or received. We will look at this report with PDC included. So we need to just press F12 and make this option as yes, include post-dated transaction. Okay, and here we are able to see an additional column that let us see this transaction, Kalagari Engineering Industries. Now here there was a pending balance of 31,000 and we have already received a check of 31,000. So we need not give any reminder for the same. And if you want to see the details of it, so we are able to see that our post-dated transaction has been passed on 20th of December. So this gives a better picture to any decision maker to how to act upon its outstanding reports. Now let us see a major need that 5.0 addresses in the check register report. You can track your post-dated checks from check register. Now from the gateway of Tally, we go into banking, we go to check register, and here we are able to see in the last column post-dated checks. From here, customer knows the total number of post-dated checks issued over a period of time. Also, one can obtain a comprehensive summary of all the transactions involving the post-dated checks using the post-dated summary report. So for that, from the gateway of Tally, we go to banking, we go to post-dated summary, we can select one bank or all the banks, and here we get the total count. So this monthly summary, we get to know how many checks we have issued or received and the total amount for the same. Finally, let us quickly see how PDC transactions impact the cash bank summary report. So from the gateway of Tally, we go to Display, Accounts Book, Cash Bank Book, and here we add a new column, Post-dated only. We can add one more column, Post Actuals with Post-dated, and here we are able to see the entire summary. Customers can view the projected closing balance after considering the post-dated checks issued and received. And also, if we press F12 and see, we want to see only the transaction area. So here we get the picture about the transactions in detail, thus giving a better insight about the cash flow and fund flow in the organization. So you have seen how easy it is to manage your PDC in TALLY.ERP9 5.0, and the different available reporting supports have made things even more easier. Customers can now enjoy full visibility of PDCs issued and received along with their real-time accounts, thus enabling seamless and informed cash planning. Further, one can effectively manage his outstanding considering the impact of receipt or issue of post-dated checks. So let us summarize the PDC in TALLY.ERP9 Release 5.0. Simple to set up. As we saw in the demo, recording the receipt of post-dated checks in Tally is simple and did not take more than few minutes. There is no configuration required and neither do you need any expertise for PDC management in Tally. PDCs once recorded gets recognized automatically. There's absolutely no need to enter any additional transactions or do any other settings. Simple to configure and use Notional Bank. As already demonstrated, it's very simple to configure and use Notional Banks for PDC management in Tally. Record PDC even if not sure about the bank to which it should be deposited, and also set the right bank at any point of time. We also saw various reports with the different reporting options for PDC in TALLY.ERP9. Customers can now keep track of all the post-dated checks issued and received. There are options to view the party ledgers along with the PDC transactions, outstanding reports along with the PDC amount, and so on. So let us come to the last part of the agenda, that is the FAQs. What is the process if a check bounces? This does not change. Normally a new transaction is entered to record the check return. Sometimes an additional voucher is also made to record the bank charges. What is new in Release 5.0 PDC is that now one can create a PDC transaction to record the new date of presentation, since typically a new date is requested in such cases. I do not want to record the entry till the check passes. Mark the transaction as post-dated and optional. How will party credit limit get affected with PDC? Option will be provided at the ledger level to override the credit limit considering the post-dated transactions. How are reminder letters affected with PDCs? The reminder letters consider PDCs that have been received against receivables. Do we get alerts on PDC due? No. The overall framework is slated for a future release. As we saw, the PDC transactions are available from the daybook. Can this process be used for standing instructions? While there is nothing to prevent the use of PDC systems to be used for standing instructions, this will really make sense for receivable and payables that have already been booked. Example, EMI on a loan. For those that get booked around the time of the standing instructions, like rent, the PDC system does not make sense, as the various reports that include PDCs will not make any business sense. Is that a PDC register? Yes, this can be taken from the daybook PDC view. What if the PDC date is beyond year ending? This is supported and will appear in the corresponding daybook report. I hope this presentation gives you insight about the post-dated check management in TALLY.ERP9 Release 5.0. Thank you.